Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're doing another story time. So just a few weeks ago I did a story video and I told you guys if we got 15,000 likes on the video that I would do another story time really soon. And you guys got it to almost 12,000 likes, and I thought, you know what, that's pretty close, so I'll give them one more opportunity here. Today we're going to be doing a story. This was by far the scariest moment of my life, and it's going to sound so ridiculous when I tell this story. You guys may not even believe that this is a real thing, but I promise you this is 100% a true story here. But back on the topic of doing story times, if you guys want me to do another story video just like this one, you're gonna have to get this video to 15,000 likes. I don't care how you do it. I don't know if you want to send the video to a friend, get them to like it. I don't care. 15k likes and I'll do a story time video within the next week. Again, I know you guys really like these. There's a lot of support around them when I upload them. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the story. So this all happened in very late 2018. Actually, I think it was November of 2018 to be specific. And it was a chilly night. I know this sounds stupid, but it's really important to the details, as you guys are going to find out here in a minute. So I really wanted a Nintendo Switch. I didn't have one at the time, and I was like watching videos about them on YouTube, and I really decided that I wanted to go buy a Nintendo Switch. And it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at this point. This is back before the pandemic, when Walmart was actually open 24/7 and you could just go there pretty much whenever you wanted to. And that's actually how like the SpongeBob Bandit story and stuff happened. I'm pretty certain a lot of my Walmart stories simply could not happen in modern day society where it closes at like midnight. But I decided I wanted to go get a Nintendo Switch. You know, I'd been doing YouTube full time for, you know, about a year or so at that point. So I had some money built up and I wanted to get a Nintendo Switch because I wanted to play, you know, like the Zelda game. I wanted to play some Mario Kart, some Mario Party, you know what I mean? So I wanted to go get this Nintendo Switch. I didn't want to wait till like buy it on Amazon and have to wait for it to ship. I was like, hey, you know, Walmart's open and I know that they sell Nintendo Switches and whatnot. So I geared up to make a late night trip to Walmart, which probably wasn't a good idea in the first place because like you're a very easy target, I feel like, in the parking lot at night of Walmart. Like if the wrong person sees you sporting a $300 brand new straight in the box Nintendo Switch for them to steal in the parking lot at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, shit could go south very quickly. I mean, we've already heard about the time I was almost robbed at McDonald's. But yeah, I have, of course, like my card and everything, but I didn't want to spend money on my card because I get weird anxiety about using like a credit card sometimes because, I don't know, I feel like for some reason it's going to decline and then I look like a complete moron in the middle of Walmart or something like that. So I decided to stop at an ATM and take some cash out because I figured that it would be easier to just pay for it with cash than to have to do it with a debit card and feel all the stupid anxiety about my card declining. And plus, like, I didn't feel like using my card. So I wanted to pay for it in cash because for some reason it also feels like you're not actually spending money when you spend cash. Like when I use my debit card, I can log into the bank or whatever and see that I've spent that money, but it's like out of sight, out of mind when you use cash. And so I stopped at an ATM and it's in like this shopping center parking lot, right? So there's like a bunch of stores around it, and at this time most of them are closed because it's late at night, but there's this bar literally right next to it, okay? Like maybe 100 feet away from this ATM, right? And it's packed. It's always packed. It's always real busy and everything. So I go to this ATM and I pull up to it, and keep in mind, to get a Nintendo Switch you need like $300, and then plus you got to cover tax and everything else, right? So it turns out to be probably like $350. So I ended up taking like $400 in cash out of this ATM. Now there was a big problem, and this is really what kind of led to the interaction with the police. This ATM was kind of busted, right? This ATM, like most ATMs, if you, I don't know, try to take out like $200 or $400 or whatever it is, right, it'll just give you all the cash at once, right? Well, this ATM for some reason was not doing that. I don't know if it was having something to do with the recent crime spree that was going on before that. I'll get into that here in a second, but this ATM would not give me the amount of money that I needed without a hassle. So what I had to do was, like, I had to log in, of course, to my bank account onto my card and go to the withdrawal, and I'd have to take out like $20 at a time because this machine wasn't working properly. So I was taking out like $20 to $40 at a time because it wouldn't let me transact over $50 at a time. Keep in mind, I gotta do it till I get like $400, right? So I gotta sit here for like 5 minutes and just constantly press this button, get my cash, press this button, get my cash, right? Well, it turns out that I didn't see, but there was a police officer, or a police cruiser, I should say, that was sitting in the parking lot, and I guess they were watching me. They were watching what I was doing. Because there was some sort of recent crime spree involving ATMs in the area. So what people were doing is they were somehow like reverse engineering these ATMs to give them like $1,000 a time. And they were going to a bunch of local ATMs and they were like basically robbing them, right? And stealing all this money. And they were doing it with like fake cards. They were putting in some sort of like, I don't know how it worked, but they'd put in like a card that doesn't actually have someone's info. It would somehow trick the ATM into like logging into an account and they could just take money from it. And so they were just like emptying all these ATMs ATMs, and the police were on the lookout for people doing this. Well, of course, I go to the ATM that is not letting people transact over a certain amount of money, I'm assuming so they couldn't steal like this, and I'm trying to take out enough money to buy a Nintendo Switch, so I'm sitting here for a while. But the truth of the matter is, I wasn't even there that long before the police came up and had an issue with what I was doing. I was at the ATM for maybe 3 minutes at this point, and the cop pulls up right behind me. And I knew instantaneously that I was fucked, because obviously a police officer's not going to pull up to an ATM at like 10 o'clock at night and try to take money from it. Like, it was very clear that I was about to get pulled over and interrogated by the police for this entire thing. And I've had plenty of run-ins with the police, and they've all just ended so shitty, to be honest. Like, I've been legitimately harassed by the police before. And in this instance, of course, this was the first instance that I had with the cops. I wasn't even really that old, man. I was like a young adult. And the only other time that I had really been involved with the police was the 2 other times I was throwing peaches at a stop sign and we had to run from the cops. I think I've told a story about that before with my friends when I was like 12 years old or something like that. Then there was the time in high school I got in a fight at a football game and I had to deal with the cop there. But this was like the first time that I had like really had to deal with the police, you know what I mean? Like out and about type of thing. So I knew I was getting pulled over, right? And once I finally got all the money that I needed, which took forever, and I'm sitting here just like hoping to shit that the cops don't come up here and start messing with me now. I start to pull off, and it's in this big shopping center parking lot, and literally the second that I pull off, the lights flicker on the cop car, and I pull into one of the spots, and they pulled up behind me. And keep in mind, it's like 10 o'clock at night, so I already knew, like, I wasn't trying to, like, scare the police or, like, you know, have them worry. So I turned, like, my overhead light on in my car and stuff like that, so the whole car was lit up, so when they came up to the window, they could see everything going on in the car. They could see it's just me. I have my hands where they need to be. I'm not reaching for a fucking Colt 45 or something next to me, fucking driving drunk, you know, or reaching for a 9mm or anything crazy, right? So I tried to make sure that the police like wouldn't be worried when they came up to the car, but it turns out that I'm the one who was fucking worried when the cops came up to the car. So the cops took no time, right? Like I was in the middle of grabbing my registration and stuff out of the glove compartment of my car, and I look over to my left and there's just the cold steel of a police officer's handgun about 2 feet away from my head through the window, and instantaneously every fight or flight response factor in my body immediately shot off, man. Like I was so fucking scared. And it gets worse, right? So I'm sitting here making eye contact with this officer, and I like motion toward the window with my head to like indicate, like, is it cool for me to roll the fucking window down? Obviously the cop has a gun pointed at me. I'm not trying to just fucking start reaching my arms around the car and like messing with shit, because I'm not trying to die in a parking lot. So they like motion me to roll the window down, and like I'm moving slow as fuck, right? Like I got my left hand like at like snail speed coming over to the door, like to roll the window down, and like my right hand at this point is standing, it's like sitting on the driver's wheel, right? Like I'm sitting there on the steering wheel, making sure that they cannot mistake where my hands are, because I'm not trying to get fucking killed, man. And the cop, you know, asked me for my license and registration and everything, and I turned my head to the right, and it's double fucking trouble, man, because there's another police officer that was apparently in the car with them that also has their fucking gun aimed at me. So I'm sitting here with 2 cops with their guns fucking pulled on me, right? And little do they know, it's because a young adult wanted to buy a fucking Nintendo Switch. That's why they have their guns pointed at somebody. So I give the cop my license, my registration. Of course, everything came back clean and whatnot. I didn't have any fucking outstanding warrants or anything crazy. And they come back to the car real quick, and they're like, so can you explain to us why you took so long at the ATM? And my first response literally was, I didn't know that waiting at the ATM for too long was a crime. Because I understand, you know, like there was a recent crime spree going on and everything, but I think it's kind of crazy to just automatically assume that, you know, someone's committing a fucking crime because they took too long at the ATM. But in defense of the police, like it was late as night, like it was very suspicious that somebody would even really be going to the ATM in the first place, probably. And at this point, like I'm still just fucking terrified, dude, because the other cop never really went anywhere, right? They're just kind of standing there. They still got their gun out and shit, like ready, I guess, if I make any sort of fucking wrong move or anything, to shoot me, while I'm talking to this other cop that's like insisting almost that I'm committing a crime, because they tried to start picking apart my story, because they asked me like, why are you taking money out the ATM, which really isn't their fucking business if we're being honest, but I didn't really want to antagonize these cops. So I was just like, yeah, I was gonna go to the store and I was actually gonna buy a Nintendo Switch. And he's like, oh yeah, that seems real likely, buying a Nintendo Switch at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the other cop like starts chuckling as if it was just impossible that somebody would want to buy a fucking product from Walmart at 10 o'clock at night. Keep in mind, I don't think 10 o'clock's even that late. Like for, I guess, an old head or something, yeah, but I go buy a Nintendo Switch at 3 in the morning. I don't really give a shit, you know what I mean? So I'm sitting here trying to explain to these cops that I'm literally just trying to get cash out to go to Walmart, and oh, well, you could use your card, you could just use your debit card, so why do you need cash? And I'm just like, it's my preferred fucking method of payment, you know? I don't really see why this matters, why I'm taking, like, if you know I'm not committing a fucking crime, you see that I haven't robbed this ATM, why are we still held up here? I didn't commit any other infraction or anything in order for them to fucking pull me over. That was the sole reason, and they clearly at this point knew I wasn't committing a crime. Like, I had a story that made sense, even though they didn't want to believe it. I only had like $400. The people stealing money from these ATMs, keep in mind, were literally routinely stealing thousands of dollars. I mean, if I said I was buying 50 Nintendo Switches and came up with $8,000 in cash, yeah, you know, maybe you can suspect I was stealing from the ATM, but the only thing that really indicated I could be committing a crime is I was using an ATM during a time where criminals were also using ATMs, and I did it at a time that would have been considered inconvenient for that police officer. And considering obviously they couldn't prove I was committing any sort of crime or doing anything wrong, they had to kind of just let me go. So the whole thing lasted like 6 or 7 minutes. You know, they ran my plates and all this bullshit. They fucking pulled guns on me and scared me over a Nintendo Switch. So at this point, man, I'm like, fuck it. Do I even go get the first person I call is my mom? Like, I was so fucking scared. And at that moment, I was like, man, I gotta call my mom and like tell her what happened, right? And my mom is like fucking irate when she hears what happened, right? Like, she is so mad about what happened. She wants me to like file a report with the fucking police department and all this other stuff, right? So I'll get into that here in a second, but I go to Walmart, right? I get my Nintendo Switch. I'm happy. You know, I go home. I get what I wanted. I didn't fucking die at the hands of the police that night. So I listen to my mom's advice. I really don't know how this whole situation works. So I called like the non-emergency line or whatever. And I didn't really like accuse the cops of doing anything wrong. I just kind of asked them like, hey, what's the standard procedure for the cops to like come up to someone's car, especially during like a night stop? And they basically just told me like, yeah, the police will come up to the fucking door, you know, and ask you for your license and registration. And I asked them if it was normal for them to just come up with their fucking guns aimed at a fully lit car. And they were like, yeah, that's completely normal. Like, I'm not even shitting you. They were just like, yeah, that's normal. You know, if they feel like they're in danger, they're gonna pull their guns. I'm like, yeah, but the car's fully lit and they're stopping someone for an ATM, right? I don't know if that's really an instance in which you should come to the door fully armed and like brandishing your gun, but I mean, I don't know. In my personal opinion, I don't think the police should just be fucking coming up to the doors of cars that are especially fully lit, where you can see the occupant perfectly fine from outside the car with their fucking guns blazing. I feel like that's a very good way to escalate and antagonize a bad situation. But thankfully, I turned those lights on, man. Like, I really feel like that could have saved me from some shit. Like, if I didn't turn those lights on and they came up to a dimmed out car, not knowing who was in it, like they low-key could have been trigger happy. They could have fucking, a mistake could have happened. That's all I'm saying. But that was by far the most scared I've ever been in my life. Like, that was the first time I'd ever had a gun pulled on me. That was the first, like, of every part of it, right? Scared the complete fuck out of me, man. Like, I reconsidered even going and getting this Switch, but I was like, man, I've already got guns pulled on me for it. You know, I've already had to deal with the fucking stupid ATM. I might as well just go get this thing now. And of course, well, I did. And I've played my Nintendo Switch since then, I guess, is the best way to put that. So yeah, Optimus almost died at in a traffic stop by the police in fucking November 2018 because they came to the car with fully loaded guns aimed at him because he was using the ATM for too long. I literally thought I was gonna die for a minute, man. Like, it was so fucking scary. I thought that they were thinking I was some sort of, like, I don't know, El Chapo fucking criminal, you know, I don't know. But thankfully, I made it out the tail and you know, nothing really happened with that whole thing. So yeah, anyway, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @subtheoptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below, and until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about the time the cops pulled me over and signing out.